this point in my journey with the Baratie arc, One Piece has been impressing me when I thought, hey, maybe, just maybe, it lost the plot with Syrup Village. Well, I was wrong, as I think Sanji's backstory in Baratie proves that One Piece can seemingly so effortlessly create a backstory that at one point nearly had me in tears. So, in this video, we're going to be breaking down Sanji's backstory along with the rest of the Baratie arc, starting with the Battle of the Straw Hats versus Don Krieg. And let's be real, it's only inevitable that one day, likely soon, that Toei Animation decides to totally not mark me and totally strike these videos. So as a way to give me a bit of a security net and a middle finger, at the $5 tier on my Patreon, you get access to all of my One Piece videos 3 videos in advance. Currently, you gain access to Arlong Park, Logue Town, Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, and my Little Garden reviews. So head on over and become a patron. Don Krieg realizes the opportunity he has by taking the Baratie as it's the perfect lure. So from out of nowhere, Luffy slingshots himself to Don Krieg. This is when the Baratie reveals its weapon, Saba Gashira #1, to which Luffy's jaw drops, and honestly mine does too. It's just a cannon disguised as a fish, basically. It's pretty cute. Then the battle between Baratie's crew and Don Krieg's crew begins. It's initially pretty bad for the cooks, though Sanji does choose to be a significant major factor in getting the momentum back in their favor, which is when Don Krieg's trump card comes into play. Iron Wall Pearl arrives to once again level the playing field. Sanji seemingly still has all of the answers, but when Pearl is hit by Luffy, drawing blood, he gets angry and quite literally sets himself on fire, along with the deck of the Baratie. So, Iron Wall Pearl uses Fire Pearl Present, that's some alliteration, but is no match for Sanji as he is able to counter the blow with a kick. Don Krieg, seeing this, tries to attack Sanji using his ball and chain, but Luffy blocks the attack and in a twist of fate sends the ball right back, breaking the mast, causing it to fall on Iron Wall Pearl, once and for all, seemingly defeating him. At this point, it seems like the defeat of Don Krieg is all but certain. That is, until Jhin shockingly threatens the life of Zeph, even breaking his peg leg, showing the ultimate disrespect. Even more shocking, Zeph tells Sanji and the rest to bail, but they don't. And thus, Sanji allows Iron Wall Pearl to use Ultra Natural Pearl Present to hit Sanji. The reason? He simply can't let Zeph give up on his one treasure, the Baratie. So, Sanji is eventually knocked out by the Iron Wall Pearl and begins a flashback to when Sanji was a kid. At 9 years old, Sanji was a cook in training and seemed destined to become a chef. He and the chefs would talk about All Blue, a place where there were many types of exotic fish to catch and eat. But there was a pirate which attacked the ship Sanji was on, Red Leg Zeph. Eventually, they are overcome by his crew, but Sanji goes overboard, which prompts in a surprising move from a pirate, Red Leg Zeph, to go overboard and rescue him. From there, Sanji and Zeph are trapped on a rock for 85 days. Zeph gives Sanji a small share of food while he gets the rest of it. As the days go on, they are forced into an extreme situation where they both nearly succumb to starvation, and Zeph is forced to eat his own leg in an attempt to stay alive. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that. And on the 70th day, Sanji goes to get Zeph's bag of food. And when he cuts it open to see that it was just the loot from the ship, turns out that Zeph from the very beginning gave Sanji all of his food because he and Sanji share the same dream. In a beautiful twist on Zeph's character, just a beautiful moment in general, they both want to find All Blue. This is the motivation for Sanji to not want Zeph to die and protect him. He gave up his entire crew for Sanji and risked his life, all because of one simple dream of finding All Blue. Now, this is beautiful storytelling. Sanji believes that he must repay Zeph, and if he can't risk his life to do it, then he never can. So Sanji lets himself be hit and thrown around until Luffy uses Gomu Gomu Axe to destroy the deck of the Baratie in anger. Luffy now says he's going to destroy the Baratie because by doing so, the pirates won't want the ship. Sanji criticizes this, but Luffy fires back, yelling at him that by dying, he'd never be able to repay the debt that he owes to Zeph. He wasn't saved so that he could go back and sacrifice himself. While this happens, Iron Wall Pearl attacks the two, but it's Jhin who, in a surprising move, destroys Iron Wall Pearl's shield, shattering it with his batons. But Jhin isn't here to save Sanji or the Straw Hats. He wants to be the one to do it himself. While this happens, Don Krieg and Luffy fight as he uses MH5, a poison gas, against them. Though in a surprising but somewhat annoying twist, Jhin just can't do the job and put down Sanji. The reason is simple. He treated him so kindly that he just can't justify doing it. So I ask, why do you lead Don Krieg to the Baratie if you had so much respect for him in the first place? All of this will he, won't he with Jhin just makes me feel his character is tedious. Because at one point he's against them, next he's not, and the cycle seems to constantly repeat itself. This just makes it seem like Jin's character isn't as well thought out as I'd like. But either way, he asks Don Krieg to spare his ship and leave it be, which leads to Krieg ruthlessly firing the MH5 grenade to kill both his enemies and Jhin himself via poisoning. He ends up even poisoning Jhin in the process, which makes Luffy angry. This is a nice little tidbit as it shows that Luffy has no patience for those who do not value their crew, something that has been a huge part of Luffy's character in the series thus far. This leads into the final battle. Luffy and Don Krieg fight, and we have some really good moments here. Luffy runs up a fallen mast at Don Krieg, who fires from his shield multiple stakes. Luffy takes some hits, but with Gomu Gomu Bullet connects with Don Krieg, and they continue to fight on, dodging Krieg's spear, and even at one point hanging onto it like a tadpole. But Luffy ends up taking an explosive blow at one point, and that leaves him in a bloody mess. Though Luffy realizes the weakness of his weapon, and in an amazing moment takes a giant wooden pillar and throws it at Don Krieg, who catches it on fire to block it. But while that happens, Luffy uses Gomu Gomu Gatling Gun to follow up immediately. I must say, Oda is really good about doing things like this in fights, especially when it comes to Luffy. He's extremely resourceful, but it is great at creating openings for him to continue his attacks with quick follow-ups, which is why Luffy is able to deal so much punishment to Don Krieg, and nearly wins with Gomu Gomu Bazooka, shattering Krieg's armor and then slamming him into the Baratie. But Krieg is still able to get off his own attack, a net trap that sends Luffy sinking into the ocean, and as we know, Luffy can't swim. So it's Sanji who has to dive into the ocean to save Luffy from an assured demise. But the fight actually doesn't end in a total defeat for either of them, as Jhin knocks out Don Krieg and they retreat. This is a truly interesting development, because it says to me that Krieg simply didn't know when to stop, but it was Jhin who read the room, even when he was poisoned by him, and remained loyal by saving Krieg's hide. You should be thankful. Then, after all is said and done, the Baratie is saved and begins the process of rebuilding. Luffy once again expects Sanji to join and become the cook of the Going Merry. It's freaking Luffy after all. And much like how Orange Town ended, the cooks and Zeph try to convince Sanji to leave by telling him his food is not good, it's awful, and run him off, as if he was never respected by the crew of the Baratie in the first place. Though it was just a lie, one to persuade Sanji into going with Luffy. Zeph did this because through empathizing with Sanji that he wouldn't be able to pursue his dream if he's stuck on the Baratie, dedicated to him wasting his life, decides to try and running him off. Though as Sanji goes out, he overhears them and understands why they lied to him, and thus chooses to pursue his dream of finding all blue and join the Straw Hats. In my opinion, Baratie was a pretty decent arc of One Piece. It did have some things I personally didn't like. For example, the stuff with Jhin felt a little stilted and slowed the pace down. And for that, I felt every bit of these 20-something chapters in the arc. Gotta say though, I think everything with Nami overshadowed this arc, except maybe Sanji's backstory. And the fight with Mihawk. I think this is natural, only because we've been with Nami for so much longer than Sanji, and her departure from the Straw Hats is shocking and mysterious since we saw her with the wanted poster and then on the ship crying as if she never wanted to double-cross Luffy. That's really fascinating, and to me are the best bits of this arc besides, as I said, Sanji's backstory and the fight with Mihawk. With the latter, both of them were perfect execution. It just gave us the entire motivation for Sanji's character for staying stagnant in Baratie, but would be the ultimate reason why he would leave to go with Luffy. It was Sanji's pride that kept him from pursuing his dream because he couldn't realize that he would be wasting his life and not repaying Zeph by wasting his best years on a ship being a cook when they both know Zeph and Sanji have the same dream. So, once Sanji realizes that, it leads to a highly emotional and amazing moment for Sanji that sets him off on the right path. Though I gotta say, I'm not too high on Sanji. Mostly because I can tell him simping for Nami is going to be, well, a regular occurrence for One Piece. And so for that, I have to move Syrup Village the same tier as Romance Dawn and put Baratie below Orange Town. I feel like Baratie is better than Syrup Village overall, but only by a slim margin. Though I also feel like because of that, we do have to bump down Syrup Village. Sorry, Usopp. It's not personal, lad. It's just business. Though, let me know, how would you rank Baratie? Did you like the arc? Dislike it? What did you think about Sanji? If you want to get access to the next 3 One Piece videos on Arlong Park, Logue Town, Reverse Mountain, and Whiskey Peak, then become a patron to get access to them right now. Next time, this and more on the adventures of One Piece.